Barrier Fencing Supply is a fencing wholesaler and distributor based out of Supply, North Carolina. Whether you need fencing, fencing products, fencing accessories, or various other construction materials related to your fencing needs, we have the products you are looking for at today's most competitive prices around. Ask us today about bulk pricing packages. Call 910-269-8661. Contact us by email at sales@barrierfencingproducts.com. Barrier Fencing Supply, proud supporter of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Hey, good evening, race fans, and welcome back to another Inside edition of the Voice of Victory Lane podcast with Kip Thompson. It is a Thursday evening. We're all getting ramped up for the weekend with our fingers crossed that maybe Mother Nature will not win and we'll get to race this weekend. Tonight's sponsors are Barrier Fencing Supply out of Supply, North Carolina, and also Atwell Exterior Services out of Greenville, North Carolina. We just heard from all of our friends over at Barrier Fencing Supply. And when we close out tonight's show, we will hear from Atwell Exterior Services and Team Atwell number 18 Racing. So it's been a great week. And there again, we are looking forward to a big weekend at Fayetteville Motor Speedway if Mother Nature does hold off and allows us to race. But tonight, again, it's Thursday evening, and we are super excited to have a great guest on our show tonight. Earlier this week, we spoke with the driver of CSR Racing, the number 75 of Chase Singletary, who runs in the Amsdale Trucking Legends on a weekly basis at Fayetteville Motor Speedway on our normal schedule. Well, tonight we have 316 Motorsports, and we have the guy who is like the CEO. He's the guy who sweeps the shop. He turns the wrenches. He makes the deals. He sells the parts. It is Willie Ridenhour. Hey, buddy, Willie, welcome to tonight's show, man. We're super excited to have you.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Kip. Glad to be here with you. Yeah, I do wear many hats within the business, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, let's talk about, what exactly 316 Motorsports is. Number one, people can look at your website and they can tell that, you kind of spread the word and the love of Jesus Christ through your business there. Therefore being 316, for God so loved the world, a really cool slogan. I love, the hoodies that I got one last year, and the t-shirts and the decals, with a nail and a cross, man. It's a really pretty cool logo. And before we get into exactly what 316 Motorsports is, that name being very significant, how did that come about for you guys?
Well, when we first started, I guess when I got back into circle track racing in like 2011, 2012, we just kind of, it was a mission for us. It was, we had a goal of taking the gospel to the racetrack. And that's how that came about, was John 3:16. Originally it was Psalms. And then it kind of, we actually on our way from, was out from moving from Washington back to Fort Bragg. And we saw a shirt in one of the Christian bookstores that had a kind of a cross on it. And then that kind of spurred the whole cross with the 316 Motorsports. But yeah, it just really just came about just trying to bring the gospel. Obviously, we try to live good Christian lives and represent Christ well, but we fail at times. So some people hold that against us. We ain't perfect. I tell people I'm just a sinner saved by grace. I'm from the south side of the kingdom.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that I've heard before. It said years ago, Christians aren't perfect; they're just forgiven.
Yeah, exactly right.
So let's talk about what 316 Motorsports is. As far as you have all kinds of different things that you guys offer. There's like car rental available, and this also goes out for guys who run dirt, obviously, but guys who want to run on asphalt. And, I kind of like how you put on your website, and I see you guys talk about it, where you can arrive and drive experience, get some seat time. And it's from skilled to non-skilled to kind of intermediate. So let's just talk about, what it is that you guys do and what you offer.
Yeah. So, we do the rentals. That's a big part of what we do. Which I guess first and foremost, our number one thing is parts. We are the U.S. Legends parts dealer for Eastern North Carolina. So, that's obviously our number one thing. And then, that kind of ties into the rentals. And then we also do where you own your car, but you don't got time. You got a family, you got a business, you don't got time to work on your car, and you just want to meet at the racetrack. So a lot of our asphalt guys are that way. And so we do a lot of that work. And, in-house, we do a lot of setup stuff for people. There's several guys that, they don't want to spend 3, 4, 5 years trying to figure it out. They kind of, want to come to us and start off on the right foot. Some people hang out, stay with us for a while, and we continue to do their setups on their cars. And as we develop new stuff and figure out new things, we help them out. And other people just want a baseline setup to get started on the right foot. And then they want to, go do their own stuff, which is, we encourage that a lot because it's frustrating to get into the sport and not have a clue what you're doing and then read a bunch of stuff on the internet and throw something at it and hope something sticks. So, so we do all that. But I enjoy the rentals, and I enjoy working with young drivers. I mean, that's just a thing I really have a passion for. Obviously, I love racing, and I just enjoy working with the younger generation of racers that the next ones you're going to see, in NASCAR or World of Outlaws or Lucas Oil Series or wherever it may be, and I enjoy being kind of part of that stepping stone for them.
Well, I've kind of come to learn to know, especially at the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, when it comes to Amsoil Trucking Legends or even when the INEX Nationals are here or whatever, Willie Ridenhour is the go-to guy when it comes to a legend at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. We need a part, go to Willie. We need to find a setup. We need to, hey, my car's doing this. Hey, go ask Willie. And so you bring a huge knowledge of what it takes to drive a car, that I kind of look at as, legends. Man, we've got so many of them. We have so many of them at Fayetteville. Our racetrack is so blessed, man, to have these amount of cars on our racetrack and stuff, man. But you're really dealing with people who drive the legends because it is a younger group of guys who drive these cars, and it's the future of our sport. You and I spoke on the phone earlier this week, about what you guys do, and talking about this in particular about the future of our racing sport. And there's not a lot of people out there right now that are driving a modified, or they're driving a late model, a super late model, limited, whatever, that didn't get their start in a legend.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, you even look at, most of your NASCAR drivers now, I would say 95% of them drove a legend car at some point in time. And I think a big contributing factor to that is they're a great driver development tool. The cars are hard to drive. Is even though everyone's like, oh, those are so cute. Well, jump in one and you won't think they're so cute anymore. They're difficult to drive. You got a lot of power there for the grip that you can generate from them. It's just a huge, 2 years on a driver in a legend car, I would say would equate to many years in any other form of racing, especially on dirt. I get a lot of guys that call me all the time. Hey, I got my son's 12, 13, 14. We want to get them in something. What do you recommend? And I always recommend, hey, do a year on dirt first. I think a year on dirt is the equivalent to 2 or 3 years on asphalt. Just learning throttle control, learning to control the car and track awareness where you are, and a little bit of a racecraft versus nothing against asphalt. I love asphalt racing too. It's a whole entirely different animal. But asphalt's just a little bit more hold the steering wheel and mat the throttle and smash some brakes a little bit. But they each have their own little bit of nuances. But dirt, in my opinion, teaches a driver a whole new level of throttle control and just car control in general.
Well, I would definitely say without a doubt that if a guy can drive one on dirt, control it, and know how to work that throttle, steer that car, when to let off, when to, because sometimes you got a little, you got to turn left to go right.
Yeah.
The thing is, it is like you said. Oh, you think those cars are cute? Yeah, get in and drive one. You maybe not think it's so cute no more. I've had Drake Troutman, who drives for you, who has been in Fayetteville Motor Speedway and driven your cars and been very successful in North Carolina Speed Weeks right from the start when we started it. And in talking with him, you ask a guy like Drake Troutman, who drives the UMP Modified on a national level all over the country. He drives a super late model now, got that new Longhorn and stuff. And asking him about the difference, to get out of a legend, go to a UMP Modified. modified, from modified to, and he's, his comment to me was, the UMP modified and the late model, those chassis, the way they drive is a lot. There's a lot of similarities there. But he said to me, he said, Kippy, I'm telling you, he said, driving a Legend is the hardest thing I've ever tried to drive.
Yeah, for sure. Well, those cars are designed to get grip. There's so many adjustments. It's slipping and sliding. Well, let's make an adjustment. Legend cars, I don't think they had too much intentions on getting a lot of grip out of them when they made them. You got really tight constraints to be legal. You got tight constraints, and it's just difficult to be able to make adjustments to get a ton of grip, because originally it was made to kind of have a division that isn't about dumping money into it, and it was about having fun and being inexpensive, and it wasn't made for a high grip, super fast car, because there's not a lot there to protect you. And that's one reason why you don't see them running on the bigger tracks. They kind of cut it off at 0.4 of a mile. Anything larger, the roll cages probably wouldn't hold up to a significant hit. But they're very safe, though, as we've seen at Fayetteville this year. We've seen some pretty wild rides, and
this year especially, if you want to talk about the safety of a Legend car,
yes.
If those guys didn't get injured in some of the crashes that we've seen, and I think, one of the things that happens is, safety is something that is, heavily policed and preached really hard at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. And I know it is at other racetracks too, but I'm just talking from experience being at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. But the way this track has continued to get groomed, it's almost like, man, this track's almost getting a little bit too fast for these Legend cars. But, these guys, because the margin of error, man, the reaction time is very, very, very slim. And you could see something just unfold in just a second. But yes, we have seen some pretty bad accidents, and glad to announce and say that all drivers and every one of those have been okay. So as we continue to roll through talking about 316 Motorsports, man, you've had so many drivers that are there at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. I can start, naming them off right now, like Drake Troutman, Jaden Boland, when those two were they're riding under the same umbrella of 316 Motorsports, but it was going to be a dogfight, man. Those guys will put on the show every single time, and you talk about there again, Drake, and then you got Jaden Boland, and then, Chad Groves. I know that you've helped him out some, and stuff like that. And Chase Singletary, I know that you helped him out. But, man, I got to give a shout-out, man, for the two new guys that I've seen here on the racetrack here lately. Number one, Dominic Chisholm, who drove Cornbread, the 19. Man, what a smooth operator. What a guy with car control. And, man, he put himself in a shot to win that race Saturday night and came up just a little short. But, man, he did an awesome job. And I know you got to be tickled to death to have him behind the wheel of one of your cars.
Yeah, absolutely, Kip. We've been we do tend to get some very talented people, and Dominic is not new Legends or racing though. He does race a Legend car pretty regularly on asphalt, and I believe this is his second, maybe third year, second full year, I believe. But on asphalt, he's pretty tough to handle on asphalt as well, and I think some of that, the way the track was this past Saturday, really kind of went to his strengths, because he is very smooth. And I tell our drivers all the time is, man, don't overdrive the car. And you see it in Legend. I think it's one of the biggest issues, everyone overdriving the car. And he just was rolling the corners and really smooth. And you mentioned Chad Groves, and, for an old fart, he's pretty good. We might be able to get him in victory lane again here soon. But he's pretty good. And, and there's a long list of drivers we worked with, but, even going back to Daniel Adam years ago and seeing what he's doing now with the late models and stuff. And, we worked with them some in 2021 as well, and into 2020. Some of the up and comers, Brody Rhodes, 14 years old. I think he's tied for the points lead right now at Fayetteville. He's got maybe 10 races, and he's, running the top 5. Tyler Seeley pulling off the win this past weekend in a brand new car. First time he hit the track was qualifying. He's out there and a couple tenths quicker than the field. So that's that is very talented young kids that are coming up now. They they got something we don't have, Kip. They got iRacing and these simulators that they can play on all the time. So yeah.
What a cool looking ride Saturday night. That bright yellow Tyler
Yeah.
Seaton. But he did, man. He really did. He did a phenomenal job driving that car. And I'm not real sure. I still haven't gotten down to the bottom of it. But in the Master Pro feature, I'm not real sure. Do you know what happened to Shabram? Because when he came off the corner, they got ready to gas up. It's just like he just fell off the pace. And then when I saw him sitting down in the hot pit area down there, just sitting all alone, it looked kind of like, I don't know, something in the rear end broke. It looked like the left rear tire was kind of cocked in.
Yeah. He had something break in the rear end that holds the upper link, just kind of break off. So then at that point, it just did a lot of damage and put him out of contention. And you mentioned that. And just, I think something worth mentioning is people underestimate the competition at Fayetteville. I would easily say you could take anyone that runs in the top 10 at Fayetteville and they can go to any other track in this country and just run up front like they run there week to week. You look at qualifying times from Fayetteville, and then usually within a couple tenths is like the top 15. And you go look at qualifying times at other tracks across the country, you got 2 or 3 fast cars, and then it just starts dwindling off. And I think we see that a lot when guys come and visit. How much they struggle. Someone that can dominate at another track and they come to Fayetteville and they struggle. The competition at Fayetteville is very stout, and just to be able to run in the top 5 there, I believe is an accomplishment.
Well, you got, we could mention names all afternoon about guys who are super fast at Fayetteville Motor Speedway. We get to talking about how about Tristan Stevenson, 66, and talking about Daniel Adam. I mean, who came back earlier this year, had looked like he hadn't sat in a legend in a long, long, long time, and just got out and was real fast, in the Nut Up or Shut Up weekend. And then you've got Dawson Bryan. We could just go on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
These guys who, the Tony Porter, who has really, stepped his game up, who looks good. But back to talking about, a couple of the young guns that are under the stable there with you guys. We talked about Dominic Chisholm, but man, I can't even begin to talk, even have this show and not talk about the potential of what could be to come. Jeremiah Bowling.
Yes.
Talk about a kid who has a resume, man, of 2 go-kart rides, 2 races. He's been in the car with you guys, like 2 or 3 times. And dude, to go out and win a heat race, to go out and be in the back of the field and move up top, move his way back up to the front. There's obviously some talent there. And number one, I'd like to mention, talking about safety, man, glad that he is okay, because he took one heck of a ride at Southern Cartway a couple of weeks ago, and really, really bad. And thankful to the good Lord that he's okay. But and I'll say, and he's probably going to hear me say this, and he won't slap me a high five next time I see it. But when you talk about overdriving a race car, that's something that he's got to calm it down there just a little bit. But the desire to, and the will to, and the want to, he's got it. And I think he's in the right place at the right time to learn what he needs to learn to put him where he wants to be with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned him, because I definitely was going to have to. He's talent, absolutely. Driving fast laps, he can burn them up, but just getting them to kind of harness some of that a little bit. But it's experience, it is most definitely experience. And he's getting there, absolutely. And I think he set fast time a few weeks ago. The week after that was qualified 3rd. It seems like when he qualifies good, something happens that puts him starting in the back. When he qualifies bad, this is where he starts, and he marches his way to the front. But it all clicked one day, and I think we'll see him in victory lane this year for sure. Definitely is driving the wheels off the car. Sometimes you just got to harness it a little bit and get them to whoa up some, which is these cars are so easy to overdrive. They're on the edge. They're always on the edge. That's why you see a lot of spin outs. Is these cars to be fast, you have to be on the edge. If you're comfortable, you're not fast. But yeah, he would definitely get there. And another one that if we do get to race this weekend, Andrew Patterson will be back out this weekend, getting a win a couple weeks ago. He's another one that we've been just really fortunate to work with as well. He's running for with Peyton Sellers and HC Sellers out of the Sellers camp up in South Boston now with the late model. So that's kind of pulled him away from Fayetteville. But another really talented driver as well. So we've definitely been blessed on that aspect.
Well, in talking about, when you this learning curve and people getting their feet wet, one thing that I think that was said absolutely perfect Tuesday night when I was talking with Chase Singletary. We did a recap with him on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast, and we were talking about his win this past weekend at Fayetteville. And it was very simple what he said, but yet so true. Because I was talking about, how good the racetrack is, and talking about, curving and maintaining the bottom of the racetrack. And when I said, walk us through, that victory, and his words were consistency, consistency, consistency.
Absolutely.
Expound on that a little bit. So a lot of these young drivers, I know some drivers right now, man, that have called me several different times that are in karting right now. I know that Tyler Gribb out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is interested in trying to, maybe turn some laps in the legend. But, when you get out of, it's just like, you take that stair step from a kart to a legend, from a legend to a modified, or to a whatever, it's just a big, huge learning curve. But explain that to get them in their mind that consistency is the key.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it 100%. And a lot of guys will focus on, I went the fastest lap of the race, or we got a fast car. Well, if you go out in Fayetteville and say you run an 18.0 and I went an 18.2, but I ran an 18.2 every lap, and you went out at around an 18.0, and then the rest of your laps for 18.2 and an 18.5 and 18.6 and 18.2, the most consistent driver is going to win the race. And when you have that consistency, you don't make mistakes. And I actually wrote on my paper here for this thing, I figured we'd talk about some of the new drivers and stuff. And it really comes down to mistakes. And me and Ryan Shabram has talked about this a lot over the last couple of years, just with the level of competition that you see at Fayetteville. You can't make mistakes. Like you can't make any mistakes at Fayetteville and win a race. And that's where that consistency comes in. Hitting your marks, moving around a little bit when it needs to move around, even though we don't have that bad of an issue with the groove moving as much with these, but just being consistent. And that was a big thing we focused on with Jeremiah before even racing. Obviously Tony Boland's a smart man, and he's like, I don't want to put him in the race if he's not ready and he don't got the laps. And we worked on the first couple of practice sessions of him was just working on, getting around the track. And then it was, okay, let's get consistent, because we had speed, but it just wasn't consistent. So consistency also will keep you out of wrecks. So absolutely, drivers got to be consistent if you're going to race. You can't, going back to the new drivers again, those small mistakes can cost you, and it fit with the level of competition. It can take you from running top 3 to 7th or 8th place in one lap with one mistake.
Yeah, well, one thing that I will tell you, going back when you started talking about Tony Bowling and talking about Jeremiah, I don't think he's quite ready just yet. Well, I happen to be at the racetrack on one of those Wednesday nights when you have that little deal where you have the guys who can come and turn laps. There's one thing, that and consistency, it all starts from the ground level. Number one, you got to learn how to drive the car around the racetrack. But there's such a big difference, Willie, and this, that it's so different when it's just you and another car out on a racetrack. And then when you get 20 of them side by side, it's super. It's just like a whole new ball game. And I remember being there that night, and I saw Jeremiah that first time. I was like, man, he'd run one good lap, and then he's and then I was like, I thought, man, maybe he's overdriving it, because he wants to be, because his brother Jaden, let's be honest. He's as good as it gets in this area. There's a lot of drivers out there, but Jaden's really good. You got your Shavers, you got your Chad Groves, you got your neighbors' boys, you got Tristan, you got Daniel Adam, you got Chase Singletary. But anyway, when you go in and look, and I remember right after seeing Jeremiah, that night, that was Wednesday. We were going to race this coming the next weekend or whatever. And I asked Tony, I said, hey, man, what do you think? I said, Jeremiah going to run that 316 this weekend? He said, man, I don't think he's ready. And I just don't know. And then Friday, yeah, we're going to let him go. We're going to let him. And then I think that was the night he might have set fast time or either it was one of those. If it wasn't that weekend, because, when you're up in the tower announcing and doing shows, you can't remember everything, but it hadn't been that long ago. So he's gotten ready, thrown in the fire there really, really quick. but has done a phenomenal job. And yes, consistency and just lap after lap, it's all going to, it's going to turn out for he and all the other young guys who come and go through your program. So let's talk about, how do people need to get up with you if they want to get into this type of deal where they want to get some driver experience, if they want to get setup, advice, or to have you do their setup program for them, and then maybe get a hold of you to, hey, how can I get a chance to go turn some laps and do whatever?
Yeah, I'll hit on that one second, but I will talk about one thing with consistency real quick. I think Tristan Stevenson and Josh Sinoski are probably two phenomenal examples of consistency. Those two are always there. They're always top 3, top 5, and they don't. And Saturday was a good example with Tristan with not pushing the issue with Tyler. He was there. A lot of yellows fell the wrong way, and I'd like to have seen him race it out on some of those, because I think it'd been a phenomenal race. And then, Josh Sinoski he's always there in the top 5, and they're consistent. They're smooth and they're consistent.
Well, one thing about, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I as soon as you said his name, I wanted to take my foot and kick my butt up under the chair for not mentioning Sinoski in that 29, because you are exactly right. And when you've got, okay, we've talked about the level of competition, how competitive all of these drivers are, and the equipment that everybody's using, and how fast these cars are. You can be on the wrong side of a 10th can make a difference for somebody. Yeah. And I'm not saying that happened in particular to Sinoski, but based on it doesn't really matter, man, where he starts. It's like, you're right. He's always going to be there, and he's going to just ride. He knows when it's time to go. He knows where he can put his car. And I'm telling you, man, coming down that back straightaway, rolling through 3 and 4, there's not many to do it quite like that 29 does. I mean, he's pretty sharp, and Shabram drives like that too. But there again, we can go back. Every driver we've listed their name today, we can talk about how good 3 and 4, man, how they really roll through there with those legends. But you're right. I'm glad you mentioned Sinoski.
Yeah, and that just goes back to the consistency and smoothness and being patient, and that's why he's won the championship the last couple of years. So, but as far as reaching out and getting in touch with us, I mean, our website's a good place to start, 316motorsports.com. We got a website, a lot of information on there. Email, our phone number. Our phone number's all over the place. I mean, it's call us, text us, come talk to us at the track. But yeah, Facebook. I mean, there's numerous ways to get in touch with us. We do practice days a lot. Even at Fayetteville, we do it at asphalt and all that stuff. We're getting into a busy time of year for us. We're probably going to try to run some shootout stuff this year up at Charlotte. So availability for rentals might not be very much until after that dies down. And we're at Wake County every Friday night as well on the asphalt stuff. So we stay pretty busy.
Absolutely sounds like. Well, listen, hey, we appreciate you taking time to be on the show. 316 Motorsports is a huge part of Amsoil Trucking Legends in our area, and also with legend drivers all over everywhere, whether it be asphalt or dirt. But we're super excited, man, to have you there with us inside the Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and for what you offer for the younger talent, for what you offer for the guys who need some assistance, for guys who've been doing this a long time. You are the go-to guy when it comes to legends in this area, and probably further points beyond where I even know. But, man, we're super proud to have you a part of what you do at Fayetteville Motor Speedway, and we just want to say thank you.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate it. And, hey, also appreciate you for, what you're doing now with trying to spotlight drivers and businesses and all that stuff, and get some guys some recognition and bringing them on the show and all that stuff. So that's good stuff as well. We appreciate that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Willie. All right, race fans, that is Willie Ridenhour, 316 Motorsports driver development program. They've got driver rental cars you can rent. You can get lap times. You can come and have him do setups for you or whatever. Visit their website, visit their social media page, Facebook, give their page a like, give them a share, and anything going with legend race cars, Willie Ridenhour is your guy to call, and get up with him and tell him when you call him, because it may be tomorrow or next week or whatever, tell him Voice of Victory Lane sent you his way. Again, that's Willie Ridenhour, 316 Motorsports. I'm Kip Thompson, Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Tonight's show is brought to you in part by Barrier Fencing Supply out of Supply, North Carolina, and also Atwell Exterior Services out of Greenville, North Carolina. As we close tonight's show, we're going to hear from them. And as always, like we do every single show when we close it out, be on the lookout. We could be coming to a racetrack near you, and you could be who we're talking about next, right here on the Voice of Victory Lane podcast. Good night, everybody, and thanks for watching.
Atwell Exterior Services and Team Atwell ride with a winner. Congratulations to Trevor Atwell and the team at Atwell Exterior Services in Greenville, North Carolina. Atwell is the top-rated roofing and exterior renovations company in racing country, and Team Atwell has sponsored so many great racing teams for years. Ride with a winner on your roof or on the track. Atwell Exterior Services. Atwell Exterior Services and Team Atwell Racing. Ride with a winner.